Hey everybody, welcome back to Bar Band Bamboozle. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about how people get tricked into being in bar bands and the consequences of that choice. I made that choice years ago, and some of you may have made that choice, and some of you are thinking about it. Today we're talking about how much do bar bands get paid? What is the money like? And I'll give you a hint, it's not excellent. Yes, you do make money playing live music in bars, and that's kind of exciting, especially when you first start out. However, as you start doing it for a while and you start doing a little bit of math, you come to the conclusion that, hey, I'm not getting paid very much here. I have some notes here that I'm going to be referring to, so you'll see me looking down once in a while because I did the math and I want to give you a really good sense of how much does a bar musician make per hour. Well, obviously it depends on how much you're getting paid per gig, but we're going to look at the worst case scenario and then we'll use that as sort of a starting point, and then everything can only get better from there. So a really great place to start is to think about the fact that you're going to need a PA system. And yes, you could rent a PA system, but that probably is going to start adding up. And it's nice to not have to return the PA to the music store, and you could get your band to invest in it. Or if you have someone in your band that's really keen on having a PA, that's another way to go. But the number, $5,000, is what you're going to need for a decent mid-range PA. And this would be having like a digital mixer or like a stage box that doesn't have any sliders on it at all, or minimal sliders, and then you're going to plug that into a laptop. Most people have access to a laptop, so I'm not including that as part of the cost. You can get a decent stage box for $1,200 to $1,500. You're also going to need a couple of, 500 watt speakers, whether you're getting Behringer or Mackie, or maybe you're getting JBL. There's a bunch of stuff. EV speakers are another good example. You can get decent PA speakers for, anywhere $600, $700, $800. You're going to need two main speakers. You're going to need one sub. You don't need two subs in a bar. It's overkill. And if you place two subs in a bar, you risk getting cancellation. There's all kinds of science behind that, which I don't understand, but I've seen some videos on that, and you want to avoid that. So two mains, two monitors, and some cables. So you can buy like a pack of 10 XLR cables. This is assuming that you're working with powered speakers and a passive mixer. You don't have to worry about amps rated to speakers. It makes things a whole lot easier in my view, and I think you'll agree. Most people will agree these days that powered speakers is the way to go. How are you going to pay for that? Well, if you're a bar band and you've managed to get some gigs, that'll be 10 gigs at $500, and you will have made no money yet. So 10 gigs. Well, how are you going to get 10 gigs? Well, if you have 1 gig per month, you will manage that. You'll pay for it. Now, when it comes to individuals' equipment, like for me, I already have a bass guitar, but maybe to get ready for playing gigs, everyone in the band might need to up their game, get a new guitar, get a new bass, maybe get some pedals, maybe upgrade an amp. Now, one thing that I would suggest to save money, it's a lot cheaper for a bass player to buy a Tech 21 SansAmp pedal. It's a preamp pedal. Or a guitar player could get a Zoom pedal. There's lots of options out there, and then just play through the PA. The guitarist in the band that I'm in right now has been doing that for a while, and it sounds great. And then you don't have to worry about stage volume because you've got a big amp blaring on the stage. It is sometimes nice to have a bass speaker or a bass amp on stage, but I do a lot of gigs ampless as well these days. So let's assume you already have some equipment, but each band member needs to spend $1,000 on upgrades. So let's assume a 5-piece band again. So that's 5 times 1,000. So that's another 10 gigs at $500. So now you need to have 2 gigs per month, and you're playing for free for about a year. So, really the only thing that you might get paid is some food and maybe a couple of beers at the bar. Now you might be thinking $500, oh, we can get more than that. I'm hoping that you can. And I got to say, I still play some gigs here and there. There's a few favorite places that I enjoy playing, but we're only getting paid $500. They might pay us $1,000 on New Year's Eve, but part of the issue is restaurants and bars have really, really low margins. They tend to make only their main money on alcohol, and they have to get quite a few people in buying drinks, and they don't have a big budget for gigs. But of course, they like to have live entertainment because it makes it attractive for people to come out again, and see musicians. It's a draw. One of the ways around that is to try to get connected to a bar that is part of a hotel chain. So then the bar is part of the hotel, and there's more of a built-in budget. And then you're looking at maybe getting paid $800 or up to $1,000. But you typically have to play for a while before you're going to get into that kind of scenario, to have sort of the resume necessary to do that. 2 gigs a month for 10 months is 20 gigs. That's enough to pay for $5,000 for a PA and another $5,000 for your musicians to upgrade. Okay, what else are some things that you have to consider? Let me just turn the page on my notes here. Let's look at the hours that you're putting in, so that way we can do kind of a per hour thing. As a band, you're not getting paid a salary. You ultimately should look at it as a per hour sort of thing. You're volunteering, in a sense, all of your personal practice time, band rehearsal time for the first year. But let's look at what this works out to. So let's say 10 hours per week. So you're going to do 5 hours per week at home alone to learn songs, and then another 5 hours once a week to be with your bandmates and to rehearse for 5 hours. But, consider driving time. Also consider the time that it takes to do a gig. I would say about 7 hours from start to finish. So we're doing 2 gigs plus the practice time. So we have 10 hours, 5 and 5 for personal practice and rehearsal, 7 hours from start to finish for gig 1 and 7 hours for gig 2. So now you are at 24 hours per month. And that's actually, I just realized I made a mistake here. That's considering 5 hours per week for practice and 5 hours per rehearsal. I didn't even multiply that by 4, so the numbers are getting really dire here. So I was looking at 24 hours per month. You can save some hours if you only practice once a month and you get everybody to focus doing more home practice. So let's say a gig is going to be a 9 till 1 gig, a 4-hour gig. You're going to be setting up from 7:30 to 9. You need to give yourself a good hour and a half to set up. There's going to be some driving time. There's going to be cleanup and packing out from 1 to 2. So you get home at 2:30. I'm looking at about 7 hours per gig. Okay, so let's do some more math here. $500 times 20 equals $10,000. That's how much money you would be making. And let's assuming this is in a year that you have already paid off your PA and your equipment. So $10,000 divided by 5 members equals $2,000 per member. And if you divide that by 24 hours per month and you multiply that by 12 hours, that equals 264. So you are making $7.57 per hour. You're not even considering money for gas. In some cases, you might need to buy some food or buy your own beer because the bar isn't providing that for you. So yeah, the only way around this, of course, is to make sure that you're getting paid more for gigs. So if you can double it, which is not easy to do, then you could be in a situation where you're making, $14, $15 per hour. I think the really important takeaway here is that if you're going to be playing in a bar band, you need to be doing this for the love of music. And you're going to be making just enough money to maybe cover your expenses, pay for consumables like guitar strings, getting, some upgrades to your equipment, getting a setup done, just little things like that. Buying a new case or something like that, getting some plugins for recording. You're not making enough money to come even close to making a living on it or even supplementing your income. The only way that happens is if you're a band that's into playing theaters or doing weddings or maybe getting some corporate gigs. And of course, that's a whole other set of issues. I deal with one of those sets of issues in a video that I have on corporate gigs. They pay well. They can pay super well potentially. I'm going to be doing a video about weddings sometime soon as well. I hope you'll have a look at that. At the end of the day, the bottom line is that bar bands don't make a lot of money, and that's part of the bamboozle. You get tricked into thinking, oh, this is so cool. I get to play live music, and it is fun. And you think, oh, we're going to get paid $500, $600, $700 for a gig. But when you look at the amount of time you're investing in it, you are making far less than minimum wage. That's the real truth about it. And if you're good with that, everything's great. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you'll like this video. I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, and there'll be more content like this on your way. Take care.